Yes, people, hello and welcome to Lead Judges TV. I'm your host, Dan Potts. I'm on my own again. I am so sorry. I know you're all going to be missing Lead Judges as much as me, but I assure you, he's back next week. Just the weekend with me, did a bit of a show yesterday. If you haven't caught up with that, please do. It's an interesting show in relation to the Arsenal transfers rebuild this summer. Quite a few players that we mentioned that we've been linked with. But today it's all things England. But instead of talking about the current side and chances in this Euros, which is what we've kind of done and everyone's been doing already, I thought we'd reminisce and take it back and do something a little bit different, which would be to look at the best England players of my era. So I can't go back to 66. Unfortunately, I was born in 87. So for me, I was a bit too young for 1990. Euro 96 forward was probably the competitions that I remember the most. So what I've done is I've put a little 1 to 11 together. Please feel free to join in the chat. Please give me your thoughts. Much appreciated. I'll try and get through as many comments as I can, but I'm going to be putting some graphics up as well. So apologies if I don't get them all. Hopefully you have already subscribed to the channel. If you haven't done so, please do so. We're trying to get this to be growers as big as possible. So I'd really appreciate your help and your support. Please whack a like on this video because that is so important to us. Or if you don't, then please just enjoy the show. We're going to look at the England setup. It's been very difficult for me this to just pick 11 players. I've definitely missed out some players that people are going to be shouting at me at, but I'm happy to take it. I've gone with a 4-3-3 formation. And it was quite easy in some positions, as most of you will probably agree. But actually, there's a few positions that I was just like, there's 2 or 3 I can pick from here. So we'll go through it. It's only going to be a short video. Thanks, everyone, for joining that has done so far. Let's start with the goalkeeper, shall we? In goal was really simple for me, not just because I'm an Arsenal fan, but actually because I think he's the best England goalkeeper that we've probably ever had, other than Gordon Banks. And that, of course, is David Seaman. Simple for me. I don't think you could really have much more to say than what a goalkeeper. It wasn't just the fact that he gave the defense confidence. It was the fact that his coordination was so good. David Seaman knew where his right foot was from his left glove. He was that coordinated. It was so great to watch. Any defender that played in front of David Seaman just says how great he is. So I think a lot of the time in the kind of early 90s when we had that fantastic back five, the reason the back five was included was because of David Seaman. But actually, people say, well, goalkeepers got an easy job when they've got a great defense in front of you. I disagree with that. I disagree with that a lot because I think that you still need to be a world-class goalkeeper. And that is what I believed he was. In my era growing up, you had him, Peter Schmeichel, Oliver Kahn and Van der Sar. And then obviously you looked at the likes of Petr Cech came in and so on and so forth. But really back then it was Seaman and Schmeichel who made it. But for England, I don't think you have any doubt that David Seaman was the number one for club and country. Absolutely outstanding goalkeeper. So for me, a simple one. Then we look at the right-back situation. And I always thought it was a bit harsh that Lee Dixon never really got a mention for England because I thought he was an outstanding right back for Arsenal, but he never really got enough caps because of this guy. I can't really leave him out. A great pundit now, one of my favourites, by the way, a little bit biased at times towards Man United, but we'll forgive him for that, seeing he was a club legend and a club captain. But I thought he was an outstanding right back. Mr. Consistent, 7 or 8 out of 10 every single game. And I can remember a couple of blunders, if I'm honest with you, in an England shirt. One where a pass back to Paul Robinson went wrong, but I think that's more Robbo's fault in goal than his. But really, he was an outstanding right back that had formed a great relationship with most of the class of 92 and, of course, David Beckham in front of him. So I'm going to have to go for Gary Neville, if I'm honest with you. I can't really think of anybody else that came into the side and was anywhere near as good as him. We've had some in recent years. We've actually got about 4 or 5, haven't we, right backs now? If you look at the right backs Gareth Southgate's got to pick from, Trippier, Walker, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, Lamptey, Max Aarons, Wan-Bissaka, the list goes on. But for me, Gary Neville walks into this England side. So Seaman in goal, Gary Neville at right back. Brings me over to left back, and I hate bringing this guy up because obviously it's a situation with the left back that played for Arsenal and Chelsea, probably the best left back in the world between 2004 and 2008. And I am, of course, talking about Ashley Cole. I don't think anybody can doubt how great this guy was. He's won everything there is to win in football. Unbelievable amount of caps for his country. And I honestly believe that Paolo Maldini and Roberto Carlos were the two best left backs in the world, but I think he was better at one stage in his career than both of them. And that is probably the biggest compliment that I can give anyone, to be honest with you. Few people in the chat. Neil said, "Evening, Judge. I'm sorry, Neil, but he is not about tonight. You're stuck with me." Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Please go and follow Guns and Yellow Ribbons if you haven't done so already. Absolutely superb podcast. And Mr. Fergus Keating, evening to you, Ferg, is in the chat, and we much appreciate it. And lastly, we have Dan. What do you think about Arsenal looking into the US market? I did a bit of a podcast yesterday about that in relation to Tyler Adams, and I would not be disappointed if we get him over the line because I do think he's a fantastic player. So what have we got then? We've got David Seaman in goal. We've got David Seaman in goal. We've got Gary Neville at right back, Ashley Cole at left back. So what do I do at centre back? This is a really difficult one for me because Sol Campbell I thought of. It could be Jamie Carragher, Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, Tony Adams. Who do I go for? And although I feel we never saw this partnership, I can't leave one man out. So I have gone on the right side of defence with Mr. Arsenal himself, Mr. Tony Adams. The reason I've gone for Tony Adams is because of his leadership, captaincy, and ability to defend. And what people forget about Tony Adams is that, yes, he was a no-nonsense defender, but actually, he could play. He could play. So I've gone for him for his leadership skills, but also for his ability on the ball. Unbelievable player. Couldn't leave him out as a gooner. So I've gone with Mr. Tony Adams. I think in 96 and 98, and before previously to that, he was one of the best centre-halves that we've ever had for club and, of course, for Arsenal. So I have to put Tony Adams in. But who do I partner him with? Played with Sol Campbell, played with Martin Keown at Arsenal, both English. But who the hell can I put Tony Adams next to? Difficult one for me. A lot of people are not going to like this because I have left out Sol Campbell. I have left out Rio Ferdinand, which means I've gone with John Terry. Not a player I loved, if I'm honest with you personally, of course. However, cannot deny how great he was as a leader, as an absolute rock at the back, and as one of the best defenders I've ever seen, if I'm honest with you. I can't sit there and lie to you and say that he is not the player that we all kind of saw in the Premier League as being top draw at the back, a proper defender, and I have to go with him. And do you know what? Tony Adams and John Terry, I don't think many strike forces are getting past that absolute rock. That would be absolutely amazing to have seen. Rio Ferdinand is one of the best ball-playing defenders I've seen, and I feel bad leaving him out, to be honest with you. And originally I thought Ferdinand and Terry, but I cannot leave Tony Adams out as an Arsenal fan. I just can't do it. I think the pair of them would be great together. A lot of people have said no, it wouldn't work because they're too similar. I disagree. I think Tony Adams is a lot more comfortable on the ball than people give him credit for. And I also think John Terry's ability of long-range passing was something that just was superb to watch. So I've gone with Terry and Adams. So we have David Seaman in goal, Gary Neville at right back, Ashley Cole at left back, and a centre-back pairing of Tony Adams and John Terry. So that leaves our midfield. Believe it or not, the centre-backs was the easiest decision I had to make, easier. This is really difficult. And everyone's going to go mental at me because I've left somebody out here, or left two people out here, which I think people will say deserve to be in there. So I have to think of a holding midfielder. I can't have all of the attacking ones because England have had so many. So who have I gone for? Well, I don't think there's a England footballer genuinely as good that has come through the system than this guy. Paul Scholes. Anybody you speak to that played against him says, wow, he was outstanding. When Zidane says, and Xavi as well, I think said it, are you the best midfielder in the world? I'm not. But if you want to go and ask Paul Scholes, and he knows who is because it's him. Now, you can't think of two better centre midfielders than those two to give compliments to Paul Scholes. He was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. He had everything, if I'm honest with you. People say he couldn't tackle. Yeah, listen, he got a few tackles wrong, absolutely. But my God, could he play? Absolutely outstanding. Retired young for England at 29, and if I'm honest, could have done a lot more. When you look at it, I think he did very, very well when he did play for us, and probably could have gone on to do a lot more. But I have to go Paul Scholes. He's the best holding midfielder that we'd had centrally, so I have to go for him. So who could I go for either side? This is the difficult one for me because there's so many that you can look at. Gerrard, Lampard, Beckham. I know he was more of a wide player, but my system is 4-3-3. Gaza. I mean, how do I leave one of those out? But I've gone for two. And the first one, alongside Paul Scholes, is Steven Gerrard. Now, Steven Gerrard, I think, is one of my favourite players to watch in the Premier League, and I'm an Arsenal fan, so that says a lot. I thought the guy was absolute genius, and people compare him to Lampard and Scholes. I think Scholes is probably the better all-round midfielder, but for me, Gerrard just led that Liverpool team on his own. Unbelievable leader, great captain, ability on the ball was superb, and wow, could he strike a football. Some of the goals that Scholes and Gerrard have scored from outside the box are lethal. I always think of the performance against AC Milan in the Champions League final where he was phenomenal. But for England, he scored some really important goals as well. And I think the first one that comes to mind is the one on the scene, England 5, Germany 1. How can anyone forget that? Steven Gerrard's goal there, absolute beauty from outside the box. So I've got to go for Gerrard and Scholes in the middle. As I've gone for 4-3-3, I can't leave this guy out lastly, just for the pure fact of that amazing goal, which is a picture of him in Greece. I thought David Beckham was probably one of the best England players I've ever seen. I mean, his delivery is outstanding, free kick taking superb. I don't think there's a player who worked as hard and had as much passion to put on that shirt and give 110% as David Beckham. And everyone kind of got the hump in 98, didn't they, when he got sent off? But I think he turned that career around for England. He really did. I think he was part of the golden generation, and I think he was the right person to wear the armband. Absolutely sensational. And there will be people, I'm sure, it's going to get to a stage of, oh, why have you left Gaza out? Why have you left Lampard out? Well, Gaza in 96 was superb, but really his tournament was in 1990, and I wasn't able to see that, so I can't pick Gaza. And if I'm honest with you guys, I don't think Frank Lampard was actually sensational for Arsenal. I really don't. I don't sit there and go, wow, Frank Lampard was an outstanding England talent. I think he was brilliant for Chelsea, but was he brilliant for England? I'm not so sure that he was. Yeah, scored some great goals, but I can't put him in over Scholes, Gerrard, or Beckham. Maybe Scholes could drop for Gaza or Lampard, but then who do I play and hold in midfield? Paul Scholes had to be in there. And I think it's really disappointing that Sven never really, or Steve McLaren, never really went for Scholes holding with Gerrard and Lampard either side. And then obviously you go for Beckham as one of your right-hand sides, and then you use your left and centre forward. I don't actually think we ever saw that. We saw Gerrard push to the left. One time it was Lampard on the right. Another time I remember Scholes going on the left for one game. Unbelievable. So that was so obvious to me. Those three midfielders that I've picked there, I think gave everything for England. Scholes, Gerrard and Beckham, and absolutely talented. So it leaves three up top now. And this one for me was fairly easy because I actually think there's three England strikers in my era that deserve to be in this team, and I've managed to get them all in. The first one is playing just behind the other two, and it's Wayne Rooney. Can't really leave Wayne Rooney out. I know that he never scored in huge tournaments and huge games, but his goal scoring record is the best out of anyone's for England. So you can't sit there and say he doesn't deserve to be in the team. I actually thought he was a very, very good footballer. And some people say they thought he was hyped up or overrated. I'm not sure how you can say that when he's the leading goal scorer for England and Manchester United, has scored a ridiculous amount of goals for in the Premier League. And I think that could have probably carried on in a couple of different positions for me, Wayne Rooney. But I'm a huge fan. And I didn't like him because he always scored against Arsenal. But for England, I thought he was phenomenal. And I think that he could play in those few positions. So that's why I've gone for Wayne Rooney. So who do I go for in front of him? Well, the two players that I go for were two of the most exciting, if I'm honest with you. One of them, when he came onto the scene and scored that amazing goal against Argentina, of course, was Michael Owen. And I think with Michael Owen, when he came onto the scene for Liverpool and England, it was like, we've got something special here. He was so quick, unbelievable finishing ability. And I remember when he scored that bloody double against us at Cardiff for Liverpool, made me absolute sick. And I remember thinking, this kid has got everything. He could be top drawer for England. And I think he went on to be. I think his injury record didn't help him. And unfortunately, he did have a few problems there, particularly in 2006, where I think his career went downhill after that injury. I think it was against Sweden, but I might have got that wrong. But what some unbelievable goals for Michael Owen. So that was an obvious one for me personally. So that leaves me the last position. And of course, it is the guy that I thought was going to win us Euro 96. It is, of course, Alan Shearer, top Premier League goal scorer, one of the best around for Blackburn, Southampton, first of all, and of course, Newcastle. I thought he was outstanding and could have probably gone on to any club that he wanted to, but stayed loyal to Newcastle. But brilliant for England. In Euro 96, Teddy Sheringham and Alan Shearer just built an unbelievable partnership. And I think that everybody in this country thought that was going to be our year. I think it was the tournament that was the closest for me. I didn't think any of the others, we were too close. Maybe 2002 and Brazil managed to beat us with the Ronaldinho free kick, which we won't go into, was perhaps the other, where the golden generation was perhaps the other tournament. But for me, it has to be Euro 96 as the one that was most exciting. Alan Shearer was a lot to thank for that. I mean, the game against Denmark, the game against Holland, just superb, absolutely superb. So have to go with Alan Shearer. So that's my 11, guys. What I'll do is I'll share the screen so we can see it all. I think what it's given is some choice for debate, certainly. I don't mind if people say that I've got some of them wrong, or if somebody want to come back to me and say, oh, this person should be in here, because you can make a case for it. 100% you can. So we have to look at it and say there are some positions there that perhaps shouldn't be in there, or that perhaps we should be playing a different formation. I'll let you decide. But for me, David Seaman in goal, Gary Neville at right back, Ashley Cole at left back, Tony Adams right centre back, John Terry left centre back, Paul Scholes holding midfield, with David Beckham and Steven Gerrard either side of him, and Wayne Rooney behind Michael Owen and Alan Shearer. I don't think I've missed too many names out there, if I'm honest with you, but I'm happy to be debating about it in the chat. A few people asking again, where's the judge? It's Lead Judges TV. Unfortunately, he's on holiday, but he is coming back tomorrow. So next week, we'll be putting out some great content for you as ever. That's it from me, guys. Enjoy the game tonight. Belgium versus Portugal. It's going to be a great game of football. One that I'm really looking forward to, actually. I've got Portugal in my sweepstake, and Lead Judges has got Belgium in his sweepstake. So let's see which one of us is going to remain in and which one of us is going to be dumped out. Of course, we're going to be rooting on for England. We're going to do some shows in relation to that. Probably tomorrow we'll do a little bit of a preview for the game against Germany on Tuesday night. Get you guys involved in the chat and go from there. But until then, we will see you next time, guys.